Hi, Boca Eagles. Today's book is Who Lives in an Alligator Hole by Anne Rockwell. What do you know about alligators? That they're scary looking with big jaws and sharp teeth? What do you think they're good for? Alligator wrestling? Being made into shoes, purses, and wallets? Being fried for supper? Alligators are good for more than that. Alligators are a member of an ancient group of animals called crocodilians. Their ancestors, such as the Geosaurus, were on Earth 160 million years ago when dinosaurs lived. Dinosaurs became extinct, but crocodilians adapted and survived. All crocodilians are cold blooded reptiles. They warm their blood by basking in the sun. Most live in hot, wet places, but alligators can live in cooler climates than other crocodilians. They are found in swamps, lakes, rivers, and bayous of the southeastern United States. For a long time, people thought American alligators were the only kind in the world. Then, about 100 years ago, alligators were discovered in China. Chinese alligators are shorter and fatter than American ones. More alligators live in Florida than anywhere else. In the Everglades, there's a wet season, when it rains every day. There's also a dry season, when it hardly rains at all. The ground is covered with sawgrass and muck. Underneath the muck is mud. Underneath the mud is limestone. Underneath the limestone is fresh water. In some places, there is a hollow in the limestone a few feet deep, where underground water can seep through the stone. So in the picture, we have a diagram of what an alligator hole looks like in the making. So you see the alligator up at the top. He's scratching and thrashing at the top of the ground. Underneath that is damp muck. Damp means lightly wet. Underneath the damp muck is wet mud, so it gets wetter and wetter as it goes down. And you see that white with the looks like little holes or dots is porous limestone bedrock. And underneath that bedrock, there's underground water. So let's see what's going to happen. When alligators discover the damp muck, it begins to dig by thrashing its powerful head, tail, and body from side to side. It shoves the thick muck away. Soon the hole fills with water a few feet deep. Then a lot starts to happen in the gator hole. So the gator must be able to sense that there's water underneath that damp muck, and his thrashing around causes the water to come up to the surface. Fish and insects lying dormant in the wet mud wake up and lay eggs. So if it's lying dormant, that means it's kind of resting, it's not active. But when the alligator brings this water to the surface, it activates those eggs and they start to hatch. The eggs hatch into more fish and insects. Birds come to eat them. Seeds in the bird's dropping sprout. More birds and animals come to eat and drink. When one species changes the environment for its own use in a way that helps other plants and animals, scientists call it a keystone species. The alligator is a keystone species. Some animals at the gator hole eat plants. Some are predators that eat other animals. The alligator is the largest. When hungry, it will eat smaller animals, but most of the time, the alligator is not a danger to animals living beside it because it doesn't eat many of them. It doesn't need to. So we see all this, the diagram of the gator hole. You see underneath the water, all the fish, frogs, turtles, snakes living underneath the water. And then above the water, you see all the different animals and birds, raccoons, ibises, anhingas, egrets, great blue herons, white ibises, night herons, wood storks, little blue herons. All these animals can be found in the Everglades. Cold-blooded animals don't need to eat as often as warm-blooded ones. They don't use food to keep their blood warm the way birds and mammals do. In winter, alligators only eat about once a month. If the air temperature drops below 52 degrees Fahrenheit, they can't digest food. On cold and cloudy days, they sleep in dens. They dig near the water's edge and keep warm. So you see him there in his den trying to keep warm. The alligator eats animals that live near it, but not enough to harm the population. In fact, the alligator helps balance everything. It eats raccoons that would have eaten too many birds' eggs. It eats large fish that would have eaten many small ones. So we see this food chain here. You see the raccoon, the bird, and the gar eating the other things, getting energy, and then the alligator eats them, keeping everybody's population in check. By the time people understood how important alligators were to the environment, there weren't many left. Their skins had been fashionable all over the world for about 100 years. Millions had been killed, and more were being hunted each night. So people were making purses and shoes and wallets from the alligator skin. So they were in demand. So hunters were going out because they were making money from selling these animal skins. People also thought wetlands where alligators live weren't good for much, so they decided to get rid of them. Engineers built canals and made dams until much of the wild southern wetlands were turned into farms, roads, malls, houses, and golf courses. By the 1960s, alligators were on their way to extinction. So people were getting rid of their habitats to build houses and malls and grocery stores and golf courses, and the alligator was losing his home, and other animals too. When a keystone species disappears, other species that depend on it may also disappear. Laws were passed to protect the alligators. It became illegal to hunt them or buy and sell their skins in the United States, but poachers still hunted them illegally because people in other countries paid good money for their skins. Finally, many other countries agreed not to buy alligator skins or any products that came from killing them. Now people understand how important wetlands are to people, plants, and animals. The United States government is now planning to return the Florida Everglades to its wild state. The American alligator is one of the world's most successful stories about a species saved from extinction just in time. 30 years ago, there were only a few thousand wild gators left in the United States. Now there are more than 2 million. But its relative, the China one, is one of the most endangered animals on Earth. Can you think of ways to save the Chinese alligator too? So you see the kids making a poster to remind people to save the alligators and other animals too. You see the little turtle there. It says, and save us too. So they're making people aware by making these posters. Here's some gator facts. Baby alligators are called hatchlings. Hatchlings are approximately 6 to 8 inches at birth. The average alligator lives 35 to 50 years. Some gators have lived as long as 80 years. The average size of a female American alligator is 8.2 feet, and the average size of a male is 11.2 feet. On dry land, an alligator can run at speeds of up to 20 miles an hour, but only for a very short time. In 1987, alligators were named the state reptile of Florida. Feeding alligators is illegal in the state of Florida. If fed, gators can associate humans with food and lose their natural fear of people. Learn more about the Florida Everglades at the National Park Service website. Chinese alligators are smaller than the American alligator. The Chinese alligator grows to only a length of about 6 feet, and the Chinese alligator only lives in the Yangtze River basin of China. I hope you enjoyed our story, Who Lives in the Alligator Hole? And remember that alligators are important, but you need to stay away from them because they are wild animals. If you see one in the wild, do not go up to it. Even though if it looks like it's sleeping, stay away. They're just for looking at. Okay, see you later, Boca El Eagles.